Kia ora and welcome to Wahine, a podcast celebrating wahine in business who are carving their own path with intention, courage and vision. This is Wahine Legacy Leadership. Tēnā koe Miah, nau mai hara mai ki te hōtaka a Wahine. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's such a pleasure to have you here and all the way from Mexico. I'm really grateful to have this time with you and to share the space with you and to uplift the voices of wahine in business. Business is probably, from what I gather about your business, a pretty new venture for you. So I'm excited to hear your story from your worldview, as a young person looking at coming into a physical product and something that is really new to the market. So I'm so excited about our conversation today. But to get started, I would like to hand over to you to introduce yourself to our listeners before we get into all things business.
Kia ora. Kia ora koutou, ko Miah Faumuina tōku ingoa. Ki te taha o tōku mama, ko ngā puhi me te raroa ngā iwi. Ki te taha o tōku papa no Samoa, aho. Ko o te kai whakarewa o Dulve. Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. My name is Miah Faumuina and I am Māori Samoan. My mum is Māori. Her iwi or our iwi are ngā puhi me te raroa, and my dad is Samoan. And I'm the founder of Dulve.
Oh, so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you a fun fact while we're here. Māori Samoan, so my mokopuna, who is only like 16 months old, his whakapapa is Māori Samoan.
Oh, really?
So, fun fact. I'm so interested in the product that you're creating and the journey that you've been on so far. Mm-hmm. But rather than me telling your story around what Dulve is, can you tell us a little bit about the product and your business?
Yeah. So Dulve is a hemp milk brand, and we create a nourishing plant-based milk alternative, which is what I like to say, or I guess you could say our tagline is it's silky smooth and it's barista approved. It's free from highly processed ingredients like oils, gums, and added sugars. We were born in Aotearoa, but we relocated, I should say, and we are launching in New York and across the US in 2 weeks, which is really exciting. But yeah, Dulve was, I guess, the official kind of start of Dulve, I would say, was during COVID, when I was living in actually Mexico at that time, working on the super yachts. So it's been a journey of around 6 years now. Yeah. A long journey. A long one.
Yeah. And you've not launched Dulve before? Launching in the US is the first time you've launched it, or is it available on shelves currently?
No, so we did originally, I guess you could say, soft launch it back at home. In 2023, we launched it into farmers markets, like the Parnell markets. Yeah, we did a small production run there, very, very, very small. But it quickly became apparent that in order for Dulve to kind of get to where I was envisioning it to be, I was going to have to go offshore. So we haven't launched in the US officially, or we're not on shelves yet. That's what is coming up in 2 weeks.
Right. I've got so many questions. It's where to start. But let's start with the question around, like, what inspired you to start a milk product?
Yeah. Well, I guess at its essence, you could say my whole personal health journey is what ultimately inspired me. I was going through my own kind of troubles with my health, which I now realize a lot of people at my age in their mid 20s were going through as well, with hormones and gut health issues. And I started to really look at a lot of the foods I was eating, and I started to educate myself more on ingredients and how to read ingredient labels. And one of the things I was drinking a lot of, I guess you should say, was plant-based milk. And when I started looking at the back of the labels, I saw these ingredients that I started to understand were really, inflammatory and what could have been contributing to kind of some of my health issues. And so I quickly realized that none of the milks available I could really drink, or I wanted to drink at least on a daily basis. And if there were, they tasted so bad, they were like very watery and just not really good. So I started to think to myself, okay, maybe if there isn't this product out there, is this maybe I should make it myself. And at the time I was living in LA originally. I moved to Mexico after that because of COVID, but I was originally in LA, and I was starting to become more aware of hemp because it was in, more like food and supplements. And I started to kind of learn about how nourishing and how also sustainable this plant was. And at the time there were a lot of issues with almond milk and its sustainability. So it was kind of I guess these different things that were coming together that led me to have this aha moment. But I do think as well, I wouldn't have kind of gone through that process if it wasn't for my upbringing. I grew up, I guess you could say, exposed to or surrounded by alternative forms of health and wellness. That was because partly of my Māori upbringing. And then my nana was a natural, she was a healer, and my mum carried a lot of that knowledge with her, and my auntie was also into a lot of I guess alternative forms of medicine. And I think that kind of planted in me this curiosity or this knowledge of looking into kind of other ways of how I could heal myself than just perhaps conventionally taking some medicine, So it was all these different things that came together that ultimately inspired Dulve.
What were you doing at the time that took you from Aotearoa to LA and then Mexico?
Yeah, so I was working on the super yachts. I don't know if you know too much about that industry. So the super yachts, it's essentially, imagine a air stewardess but on multi-billionaire yachts. So it was a lot of traveling. It was kind of like a service, hospitality, cleaning role on these big yachts that would travel around to different places throughout the world. And at that time I was on a yacht that was based in LA. So that's kind of what took me from Aotearoa to LA. And COVID happened, so our yacht got kicked out of LA and we had to go to Mexico.
Right. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And so all in amongst that, you're experimenting with alternative milk products yourself?
Yeah, well, I was at the time drinking oat milk, a lot of that. But when, kind of as I mentioned, when I realized what was in the oat milk I was drinking, I started experimenting with making my own milk, because on the yachts, there's usually there is a chef who will cook for my guests, and the chef happened to be one of my close friends, and so she was working with me kind of in the early days, and we were just playing around with different recipes, and when she kind of started making the milk and I tried it, I was like, this is delicious. So I kind of knew, I was like, okay, so I might be onto something here because it ticks all these other boxes, but most importantly, it's delicious. Well, not most importantly, but just as importantly, it's delicious. And so, that's kind of where the experimenting started and kind of grew. Yeah.
Thanks to really good friends and
I know.
really good roles,
Oh, definitely, for sure, especially in that start. She helped me to formulate the kind of groundwork for it, so.
Yeah, because that's a big leap, for a young person to go, oh, do I risk it all? And, put all of my energy into seeing how I can now put this into production. Yeah. So now it is available not just for my own health, but commercially available. Like that's a massive step.
Yeah. And, I think I sometimes, and this is not, well, maybe it's been a good thing, to be fair, because I usually jump into things like I do. This is how I think about it. Usually I'll do like, okay, how can I get from step A, B, and C, and then there'll be maybe a step like F. And I won't really know everything, but if I'm kind of confident in those initial steps of like how I'm going to get there, then I just jump in. And I think I maybe just, and my mum has said, I've always just been someone who is kind of a risk taker, I guess, in a sense, but I would say a calculated risk taker. Like I'm not.
Sometimes it's good though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that's one thing that I tell a lot of my friends now, I think, is like sometimes you can sit on something for too long and then you can almost convince yourself out of it. And at the time when I started thinking about this, I obviously did a lot of kind of research into it, and I did it. I made sure to look into the market, and I did do a lot of like market validation, but I knew that the product was something that like filled it met, there was a problem that was like it was meeting, I should rephrase. And I thought that if I was going to take a risk, I would rather take it now because I'm have this time to kind of crawl back if it fails, rather than spend another 10 years kind of, I don't know, maybe entering a corporate job and then getting to 30, 40 and having all these responsibilities and then taking a risk. I was just like, now is a perfect time. I'd saved all the money I'd saved. I actually put towards a business instead of, putting towards a house. But that was, again, something I thought in my head, okay, if this fails, okay, it's okay. I will have time to make this money back. Whereas, I don't really want to be risking kind of that when I'm at an older age and I've got, all these responsibilities. So it was it was just like a perfect time to make a risky move.
I was going to say, sometimes it's what you don't know is the blessing.
Yes.
If you only can see 2 steps in front of you and you're confident with those 2 steps, they help you keep moving forward. Whereas if you could see all 10 steps, you might have a different decision, right?
100%. Because honestly, I always say it, if I had known how hard it was going to be, I would have never done it. I honestly would have been like, that's too hard. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to achieve that. But it is exactly how you've said. It's just knowing that you can get 2 steps, or, you also have to have the vision. Like the ultimate vision needs to be there. But like, you can't worry yourself with every single step till the vision, because things change between there, and a lot of the time you pivot. And but that's totally right. Like I always gosh, I would have never thought I would.
Right.
But
I mean, I've just finished renovating a house.
Yeah.
First ever. Like, I've never done it before. And truly, if I'd have known everything that was involved, I would never have started. But I started by just like, let me strip back the wallpaper.
Yeah.
Okay, let me sand the walls. Let me rip up the carpet. Like, it was just one by one by one, but one step at a time. And now it's done. And now I've done it once. I'm like, well, I'm never doing that again.
You're like, now I know.
Yeah, now I know. I'm like, whoa, it was more than I realised, but it's good. But a good experience. Tell me about your journey into production.
Mm-hmm.
So you've chosen to produce in the US.
Yeah.
What led to that decision?
Yeah, so I mentioned before that we were back at home, and we didn't have any options available to us really for production.
Wow.
And we could have gone to Australia, but when I looked at the cost of production and then the market, the New Zealand and Australian market, I wasn't confident enough that I would be able to meet those kind of production MOQs. Not with self-funded, at least, because that was also an issue at the time, was funding, So I think I realized, okay, it's not viable if I stay here. So I either stop now or I go somewhere else and see if I can make it happen somewhere else. And we did a market research report on manufacturers and markets across the world. So I didn't just rush to the US. I made sure to look everywhere else. And ultimately we landed on the US, and that was one, because of the market, the target market. It was our ideal target market, especially in those coastal regions, but also because of the manufacturing capabilities and the technical capabilities. Right. It was far advanced compared to back at home, not only in ingredients, but just technical expertise. Our product, we were able to really improve it and bring the cost of goods down, because it's America. Yeah. So I landed on America. Our current manufacturer is in New York State, and that was in 2023. And honestly, if I'm going to be honest, pretty much since the end of 2023 till last year, November, it was a battle. It was a huge battle. There was a time where I think we were going back and forth with contracts with this manufacturer for maybe 8 months, and it was costing me thousands in lawyers. And ultimately, they just said, you know what? You either sign it or you don't. We're not making any changes that you've proposed. Communication was just terrible, because the thing is America, the business environment is so different to back at home. Back at home, there's a very likely chance that you might know someone. It could be your uncle's friend or your auntie's, so people tend to tread carefully with business practice. Whereas in America, it's such a big business environment that people can kind of operate however they please, and they'll have a new customer, or they'll be able to kind of get away with that type of behavior. And so, we originally had this period of being stuck in a contract hold for months. And this is, I'm not earning anything during that time as well. And I don't have a product, and I'm losing momentum. But eventually I'm lucky enough to have a lot of mentors, and they said, you know what, we think you can sign the contract. You just sign the contract, get a product. There's enough leniency in it that you're going to be fine. So I signed the contract, but then after that, they kept pushing me off the production line for months. So I had the contract signed in March last year, and from March till, it wasn't until November that they finally put me on that production line. And I had it was honestly the hardest thing that I've done throughout this journey, is trying to navigate that.
And they were your only option?
They were my only option, because they were allowing me to do a smaller run, And most hemp, well, I should say plant-based milks as a whole are pretty specialized with how they're manufactured. So compared to, for instance, a canned beverage, which is quite simple manufacturing in layman terms, they have lower MOQ, like minimum orders. But for something like hemp milk, because it's so specialized, there's not many manufacturers who offer that service. And so what they end up doing is having these really high volume minimum orders, which obviously makes it difficult for anyone to enter the market, because usually it's so much capital to put down initially just to get your first production run out. So they were the only manufacturer who could really accommodate us at this stage. So what does a minimum order look like in terms of quantity? Our first order, but it technically was a pilot run, so puts it into perspective, was 30,000 litres, which is around 14,000 individual units of milk, 1 litre milk. But our next run, which we signed on to, I don't know how I'm going to get there yet. I'm still figuring that out. I need to get the funding to get there, but I've signed it. It's 80,000 units. And then from there it scales up to 160. So if you compare that to, let's say, a canned beverage, canned beverages can be as low as 1,000. And so that's why, that's why it's such a difficult and like product to produce, because it's just so capital intense in the sense.
Right. And the process from turning it into a plant product, from a plant product into a liquid form, which then has shelf life. The manufacturer does all of that. Do you have to have the recipe, the IP on you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and they're just following your recipe?
So that was also a big part of the journey, and why it actually took 5 years, which is, some people kind of are like, what's taking so long? And I just want to say, you have no idea. You have no idea. But I mentioned at the start, Dulve is oil-free, gum-free, sugar-free. We wanted to create a plant-based milk that didn't have all these like unnecessary additives. And so that was one thing that made it extremely difficult when we were formulating, is that we had this ingredient integrity which we wanted to uphold, and we had to be extremely creative and like innovative with kind of what ingredients we wanted to use. And I actually I have a really good food technologist, but I would actually say myself that I ended up doing a lot of the research, because our formulation is completely different to other milks that are on the market. Like, a lot of the ingredients we're using haven't been used before, because we were trying to achieve something that usually, like, we're trying to achieve this product that usually uses all these other super processed ingredients to kind of like get, that taste and function that everyone wants. But we got there. And so, that was around, I think we ended up doing like, honestly, 50 different variations of formulations. And I think halfway through, I ended up finding out, so we'd done all this work and we were just about to go into our first kind of lab run. And I found out at the time that some people who were working for us doing ingredient kind of resourcing had misquoted us with the hemp, and it ended up being like 30 times more expensive. So we had to completely reformulate and find a new, completely different supplier with a completely different ingredient and start from scratch. And that was about a year into us being in the space. And that was, back then I thought, this is it. This is the breaking point. And since then, way worse happened. gosh, that was nothing. But yes, so we went through the whole process of formulation. In terms of process, all the machines kind of operate in a standard way. It's you pretty much give them the formulation. You might have specific instructions for how to how to handle the ingredients. You might want them to let it sit for a certain amount of time or whatever else, but it ultimately goes through kind of the same process in the machines. So yeah, that's just the formulation. That is where we put all the work into.
Yeah. And what does support look like for you on this journey? Like, from what I hear, there's lots of like recipe testing and ingredients. Like, have we achieved the ingredient, or what happens when you put this one and this one together? Do we get something completely different? And then have we still got sugar levels or other levels created because we put these two things together? Like, I can only imagine, like, the chemistry in this is quite, I don't know, I'm imagining it'd be technical. So what does a team around you look like during this process?
To be honest, it was just me and my the food technologist, who he's the science of it, I would say. So you are right, there is a lot of like chemistry and science that goes into it, but we work really well together. I would come to him with crazy ideas. I'd be like, what about this ingredient, and what about this ingredient, or I think this combination and this combination, and then he would either say yes right away because he'd say, okay, maybe this is going to work, or he'd be like, no, it can't work because of XYZ. And he would also obviously do all the formulation work to make, and he had worked with plant-based milks before, so he had a foundational knowledge of what kind of would be a base to start from, and how, percentages of what we could use. And so I think in the sense of the science and the chemistry, he was, the person kind of handling that, but I was more the person. And it doesn't typically happen like that. He said I was like a very unique client who was like bringing all sorts of wild ingredients out, different plants. He's like, where did you find this? I was like, the Netherlands. He's like, what? He's like, it's not going to work. I was like, just try it. It worked. So I was like,
right, yeah.
But
so even testing his belief in different products to at least test and try it and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a big researcher, and so, and again, as I kind of mentioned with, I think just growing up how I grew up, and like always being exposed to like these alternative forms of like as I mentioned, health and wellness, I just always thought, I'm going to start looking for solutions in nature first.
Yes.
And there's always innovation happening. And I knew that. I was like, people want to be like, people want to move towards, more natural foods. And so there's so much innovation happening all the time. And I just knew, like, okay, let me look into it and see what I can find out.
So in this process, you've kind of come back to your cultural identity, which, sounds like your mother, your grandmother have grown up, with rongo Māori as part of their everyday, and they head to the forest and they gather what they need and they come back and they, make it up, and then all is well in the world. How else has your cultural identity helped you move through these experiences and what you're about to launch in 2 weeks?
I think, so I went to when I was at my primary school, I was in a fully immersion class, and I would say that my education was alternative. We had a class, for instance, that was all about like composting and gardening.
Yeah.
And so I think I always had this strong connection to Papatūānuku, and I always had, awareness of like prioritizing my connection to my body, but also Papatūānuku. And when it came to the business, I think a lot of those values I was so determined to maintain, you know. So it's so much easier to just be like, okay, fine, let's just add this thing in it because it's going to cost me so much less money and it's just going to make, you know, my problems so much easier. But I think I was like, no, that's not what I believe in. That's not, you know, that's not me. It's not, I would, and you know, with my food technologist, he was a standard conventional food technologist. He's not, so he was constantly being like, you can just use this ingredient, you realize, and I would be like, no, I'm not using that ingredient. And I think as well with also the marketing of the product is another I kind of struggle that I went through, because I noticed a lot of my competitors were using a lot of marketing language which was really false in a sense, but for us, we just wanted to be completely transparent. We're not over promising anything, you know, we're not saying that you're going to heal yourself in the next day. We are just promising that this is a nourishing plant-based milk alternative that doesn't have a lot of these ingredients, and that it's a nourishing base for your day. But yeah, I think sticking to those kind of values throughout the business, throughout my business journey, that really obviously been something that has just been cultivated from my Māori upbringing, and and
the deep-rooted beliefs in nature has all the answers.
Exactly. Yeah. And also because it's a product that I myself want to consume every day. So, but I also want my family and my friends to consume it. So I don't want to be putting like out a product that I don't feel comfortable is good for you know, whānau. Like, like,
you want to stand proudly behind what you are asking people to consume and add into their day and make the switch.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally resonate with that in terms of, you know, standing behind the product, and your business makes it so much easier when your belief is so strong that you want everyone to have a piece of it. Yeah, definitely, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. So you are 2 weeks away from launch date.
Yes.
So you've run 40,000 run to begin with?
30,000 pounds. Sorry, I should say it in actually units. We have around 13,000 units of milk. So it's 1 litre milk cartons.
Right.
Yeah. And
And where's that distribution? Because then manufacturing is one part of the deal. Now you get into distribution and how it gets into the consumer's hands and into their drinks or coffees or however they want to use it on their cereal. What does that look like?
So we are launching online and in cafes. Sorry, not cafes, just online to start with. We have our own web store and Amazon. We have retailers, some really exciting retailers who are interested, but the situation at the moment is that we need to get investment to scale. And up until now, you know, it's been pretty much family and my savings, and then also we have one angel investor who's believed in us, but we've had no support at all from any government kind of organization. I've applied for all types of funding, and unfortunately that's actually been one of the biggest challenges for me, is the fact that it's just been like so difficult getting any support from back home. And I think after speaking, I should say that there is one organization called Oyster Group. Sarah and Kim are my mentors, and they support Māori and Pacific businesses, and they've been really, really helpful in helping me with my contracts or networking, everything else. But they say themselves that it's just so difficult, and I think especially because Māori and Pacific businesses tend to be in more creative fields or industries that are outside the box that get the funding, that's where we usually find our talents and so not to say that's all the time, but I mean, like, as a lot of the time we do have more creative businesses, and so the funding it's just been really difficult, and it's actually been kind of saddening for me, because I really believe that Dulve will put Aotearoa on the map. So it's just been hard.
Yeah. And I think hemp too. Hemp is like that alternative product. And when you think about hemp, you think about like clean, green, the whole persona that Aotearoa has on the world stage. So those two products seem to go together nicely when you're thinking about a clean product. And the founder being from Aotearoa. The synergy should already exist on a world stage, right?
Exactly. And we have the perfect environment back at home to grow hemp. We could really be a leading an industry leader, because we have the perfect agriculture for it. And obviously we have dairy, which is big, but hemp is a crop that can be rotated throughout like pastures, I guess you could say, which have dairy cows, because it helps to regenerate the soil. So it is something that we can work in combination with our dairy industry. But I think there was a lot of regulation around hemp, which only just recently changed, and that made it really difficult for us at the start. And I hope there's more investment that's going to go towards it. But I think our awareness of hemp in New Zealand is only beginning to change now. Kind of beginning to change now. When we were back there, it was really hard. We noticed not a lot of people were aware of hemp as like a food and as like a fiber, and how sustainable it was. So perhaps, maybe in a year or two, the government will see Dulve and see, new potential there. But it hasn't been that way so far.
Right, yeah. Well, when you're successful, then everyone will want to claim you.
Exactly. That's exactly.
What are your hopes and dreams in this first launch and your first run? What would be, what would you see as a successful launch?
I think for this first run, because to give you backstory, when we finally went into production, one of our suppliers didn't send enough of an ingredient, so we had some issues with this milk, and we got it there, and it's great, and I love it, but I think we had such a challenging start to this launch that I'm just excited to get it launched online and to get it kind of in anyone's hands right now, because it's just been so hard. And I think given a lot of the constraints we've had with financing, a lot of our brand building is going to happen post-launch, once we can start getting consumers getting it into their hand and building the brand more so online, because we didn't have a lot of that kind of financing to support a big campaign pre-launch. It's a different strategy. I think it's kind of more of like a quieter launch, but we've seen a really positive response with our socials, and we've got a really good ad strategy, which has been really, really good in the sense of, people's response to it, considering we've worked with that within such a restricted budget. And then I'm hoping for me is to build enough of a community and brand awareness so that I can start conversations with investors to help us scale, so that we can then start moving into the bigger cafes and bigger retailers. It's a lot of brand building. I think that would be, for me, the most successful part of this launch is brand building and brand awareness and getting it into consumers' hands, and then hopefully some money.
Well, I think, and this is just from my limited knowledge, the consumption of plant-based milks has grown like tremendously just over the past few years. And so in cafes in this part of the world, we now have a variety of milks that we can ask for with our coffee. So I would say, in New York or in other parts of the world, that's probably been the case for far longer than it has here.
Definitely.
So there's already a market of alternative plant-based milk drinkers who are like, yes, I would like to go for a healthier option, or I drink it because this is the best I can get right now, but it's still not great, so this might be my answer. Shipping. What does shipping look like? If you're just online and from your website and from Amazon, are you shipping worldwide, or are you just shipping in the US now?
We're just shipping in the US for now. And I guess in-store retail strategy, cafe strategy is to first enter into the New York market, into physical stores, and then be available online across the US. I mean, even if we're just targeting New York, that's still such a big market for us. So we are taking a very strategic approach to how we grow and through our distribution strategy.
And there's just you.
And there's just me. So, there's only so much one person can do. I do have I have an amazing marketing team who are all from home as well.
Nice.
Everyone who I work with, we have one girl actually who is English, but everyone else is from home. And then I have my brother who is a self-taught genius. Like, he's like a genius. Those type of people who can just learn anything. So set up the Amazon store for me, set up like our logistics information system, and specialized coded it. Like,
oh my gosh. Love him. Love him.
Same.
What, in this last 5 years, you've had lots of challenges along the way, and you've talked to us about a couple of them, but what has been, your biggest challenge where you've thought twice about whether you can or can't move forward?
Probably recently, when I found out that they didn't ship enough of the ingredient. My uncle actually died at the same time. The day of production, he was in hospital, and he died the next day. But that day, I got the call from the factories telling me that they didn't have enough of that ingredient, and I just remember thinking like, oh wow, my life is like over. I was on the ground, and it's crazy because it's just such a traumatic stress. Like, it's so traumatic for your like nervous system and your mind, and but I think what I've developed is this like coping mechanism, because other events have happened throughout the journey. That has been probably the most traumatic just recently, but I always, like, my mum is like my best friend throughout all of this, and so it usually goes, I call her I break down, I start crying and crying and crying, and then I give it a day, and I usually turn my phone off. And that day I was in Buffalo, and I just turned my phone, like I've dealt with what I needed to deal with, and then I thought, okay, I've done what I needed to do. I've solved everything that I can solve right now. And then I leave my phone and I go do something, whether it's go for a walk or do something I love. And it's usually that kind of time of quiet that my mind changes, and I actually think, okay, I think I can think of a solution to this. Like, there's got to be a way out of this. Like, I think I can figure this out. And I just usually give myself, I guess, some quiet time to like think it through and have some peace. And then, then I start coming back with like a plan, and then I talk through that plan, well, usually with my mum. Yeah. And it kind of starts to bounce back from there. But that was probably my biggest challenge recently, was kind of that day and that moment, and figuring out how to move through that.
Yeah. And how are you looking after yourself? Like, I love that you're like, let me put everything down. I've done all that I can do for now. Doing more is not going to be productive for anyone or useful for my own health.
Yeah.
So putting everything down and then completely just going and doing something that brings you joy. Mm-hmm. And as you said, like that space alone allows fresh ideas to germinate and come through because you've given it that space. But the 5 years of getting a product to market is a long, financially stressful journey. What do you do to look after yourself on a day-to-day basis?
So I live in Mexico now, and I live right by the beach. I'm very lucky, a beautiful, beautiful surf beach. And I would say now a lot of what I do is just get into nature every day, like whether that's going for a swim. Honestly, it's, I can see, well, it's dark, but I could see the beach right now if it was in the morning, and every day I wake up and I walk down to the beach and I look at the beautiful sunrise, and, and just that in itself and that becoming a part of my daily routine has completely changed my health and like my journey throughout like creating Dulve, because when I was in New York, it was completely different. I was, so disconnected from nature, obviously, and it was just such a high stressed environment. And I ended up getting really, really sick at the time because I think it was just, my body was just going through so much. And now, because I live here, I think it really helps me to cope with all the stress, because I can take some time to just like absolutely go and have like complete silence if I just go for a surf. I'll just be out in the ocean and I can't do anything but think and have silence. And like, I mean, I feel like you would understand this, but there's just nothing as healing as like being in the ocean or being, surrounded by nature. And
I would agree.
Yeah. And that was definitely, I think, a huge part of me moving here to Mexico was because I just needed that again in order for me to continue on doing this.
Yeah. And so what does a workday look like in terms of when you work, when you don't work? What boundaries do you have for yourself? Because, a startup can be all-consuming, and if there's just you and you've got no dependents and no other commitments in life, you could put every waking hour into the business.
Yeah.
So what do boundaries look like for you in order to look after yourself?
Oh, this is not the best answer, but I work every day. It's really, but it's not bad. I don't mind it. Like, I don't have a Monday to Friday, obviously, in the sense of there's certain things I need to get done because that's the working week for people, right? But I essentially will work every day in some sense, whether that's getting a bit of content during the day, perhaps for like socials, or sending a few emails to some of my team, because as I mentioned, 2 of the people who work for me are from home and they're my friends, and so they have other jobs, and so a lot of the time we communicate over the weekend. But it's not like I view it as a job, and this is perhaps, I don't know, maybe this isn't the best way, but it's the only way that I've been able to survive, because I just view it as life. Like, I wake up and I think, okay, what do I have to do? What do I have to get done today? And if, maybe there's a day where, for instance, on Sunday, I worked a whole lot of the day, and then on Monday, I was like, oh, okay, I can take the morning off. I can go for a surf because I've just done all this work on Sunday. So it's chill. And there's things I don't want to do, like the accounts, which I have to hold myself accountable to. But a lot of the other stuff I'm doing, it just feels like it's a part of life. But I think that's been helpful for me because I just love it. Like, I love doing it. I don't feel exhausted from it, apart from the accounting. And the taxes, God.
Yeah. And I think that mindset is what brings you balance. Like, when you can say, surf is calling me right now, got to go, and off you go. And that's not a 5-minute go and dip your toe in the ocean. You're out there for, an hour minimum.
Yeah.
And so that time away from the business, it's not necessarily dictated by a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. It is like, all right, how do I feel now?
Yeah.
What do I need space, or can I, have I got the energy to put into this next lot of work tasks?
Yeah, I think for me, I view it as well, just there's always things that you need to get done and that they're priority. And as long as I kind of have those things done, then after I've done that, I have other things that I work on, for instance, like content, or, you always have like ongoing things. And then those are the things that I can shuffle around kind of throughout my day. But
so you know what your priorities are on the daily, and what pieces are less priority and can be shuffled.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
What kind of rituals, routines, or practices help you stay grounded in reaching that vision that you have for Dulve?
Exercise. I'm a very, very, very active person. I think that's also because I spend a lot of my time for work on my phone or on a laptop, obviously. And so making sure that, and I love it. I love waking up in the morning and getting some form of exercise in. It helps me to kind of then come back to my laptop and feel like a lot calmer. And as well, I like to prioritize my health. I think I believe in balance. I really do believe in balance, though. Like, I love a shot of mezcal some now and then, or I love croissants.
Yes.
So I'm a big, and Dulve is all about balance as well. I like to have like my foundational kind of routine and rituals that keep me balanced, and then of course the other part of that is enjoying myself when I can. But I think if I maintain these foundational rituals, for instance, I have like my morning beverages that I like to I have a whole concoction of different things that I have, like my hibiscus tea, and I like to eat like a lot of whole foods 80% of the time. And I think if you kind of have those rituals and foundations, then your body is like able to handle the stress of a business, or perhaps if you want to go out for a night out. Hangovers. But mainly when I say the stress of the business, I think having prioritizing sleep and all these things, it really helps to keep my mind kind of clear, and feeling good and feeling motivated and feeling like I want to wake up and do
and keep going. Exactly. And get it on shelves. What is your big, bold vision for Dulve?
I really envision Dulve as becoming a trusted lifestyle brand, in the sense of I want people to be able to see a Dulve product and just know automatically that they don't have to turn the product around and double check the ingredients or ever worry about it. Like, I want to be like a hot household brand that, like, your mum, your nana, like, you can give to your kids, like, everyone you can trust. And I also, I mean, I would love for it to become a global brand as well. That would be my dream as well, to bring it back home. And I think, like, we're in food at the moment, but I always would love to collaborate into different industries. You know, hemp is also really good for clothing. And so a company back in home called Buddy, who we want to collaborate with. So yeah, I think we want to put hemp at the forefront, and then grow.
Yeah, grow from there.
Yeah, literally.
Would you say hemp, I mean, I might be stretching here, but thinking about products beyond the milk product, are you thinking that Dulve will always be hemp-based products?
I think now, for, like, obviously for the immediate future, we're really focusing on hemp, but no, I do think eventually we would love to include other products. I mean, there's so many other, I have another business that I kind of want to grow from Dulve, but I'm trying to just keep that at the back of my head. I think you would find a lot of entrepreneurs that they just have all these different ideas going, but yeah.
Put it in the parking lot. Like, yes, exactly. Put it in the parking lot, and it's just waiting. It's just waiting to take it out, give it a drive. Yeah,
exactly. So you're right. Actually, there is kind of we will have there are other products that I really want to bring into the kind of umbrella of Dulve, but I don't necessarily think that will be the Dulve brand. Like, I think eventually I see myself having kind of another kind of company, and having, you know, or maybe having the company with a different identity under the umbrella of Dulve.
Right.
I think it all depends on what fits within, you know, Dulve and what we created. So,
well, as we are talking about, you know, the world domination of Dulve and hemp in years to come, and big dreams, what does legacy mean to you?
Legacy for me is not something I would associate with, like, my own personal legacy, or I'm not as phased with that. But I think legacy for me would be, as I've said, like, having Dulve be this brand and company that is for everyone, and that also is able to do more than just sell products as well, whether that be through, like, community events. Like, we have so many ideas we want to do with different kind of events within the community. And yeah, I think if I can just create something that, you know, makes someone's day a little bit better, then that's amazing for me. And then as well, if I can pay mum and dad back, then I'm like, I've made it. If I can retire and, you know, buy Nana some KFC, you know, when she wants, let her, then I'm happy.
You made it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I've really appreciated the authenticity and the rawness of your journey so far, in that it's been 5 years and lots of ups and downs and challenges on the other side of the world, away from whānau. I know we're only a FaceTime away these days, which makes it so much easier that we can still see each other regardless of where we are in the world. So I've really appreciated, the raw conversation and giving us a sneak peek behind the scenes pre-launch. Like, I am sitting here like wishing you all the best for this launch in 2 weeks, because, I think you deserve world domination for a brand that is clean and thinks about health first, not money first. So amazing. I've got one question that I'm going to add to the end of our kōrero today. And this is a question that was left by the previous guest of the podcast. So part of the ethos of the podcast is wahine sharing and supporting wahine. So it's, what question does one have that another can answer? So this is the pay it forward question. The question is, how are you learning to lead with both strength and softness in a way that honours who you truly are, not who you think you should be?
Okay, so I guess this has kind of been something I've been coming to facing recently, just because the team has been growing and I've been trying to figure out how to manage the team and like how to lead. And a lot of what I've really tried to remind myself of is allowing myself, I should rephrase this. I'm more than happy to be, not more than happy, I can be wrong. And I think that allowing myself to ask for help when I'm either unsure from my team, or if I can admit if something goes wrong, I'll always admit, I'm sorry about this. I think I did X, Y, and Z, because I think that also helps with my team when there is like either a problem that goes wrong with them, that they feel comfortable with like they're not scared that I'm going to get angry about it, because I'm always like, can we fix it? What's the solution? And how can we move forward, and can we learn from it? But I do think there is this balance of making sure that you're not too lenient.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Like, you want to have that softness so people can feel comfortable to come to you with like a problem or if something goes wrong, but then you also need to make sure there's like boundaries in place. And so that's something I've been trying to work with at the moment, but I've been trying to do that through showing them that I'm vulnerable when I don't know something, or when I maybe do something wrong, I let them know. So yeah, that's a good question, and hopefully I answered that.
However you answered it is the right answer. But again, the vulnerability in the way that you answered that is very reflective of our whole conversation today. And I get a sense of that's the kind of leader that you will be. You will be the leader who is soft, vulnerable, honest, but with boundaries, because it's a business, and I can see that you are already truly honouring what you want in this product, as opposed to what you should be doing to get it to market. Yeah. So yeah, I think that was truly reflected throughout our whole conversation today as well.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, Miah, for having this conversation, and the strength that you have demonstrated, and the perseverance and the resilience is very admirable. Take my hat off to you. But it also sounds like you've got some really good support systems in place that allows you to do what you're doing. So
definitely.
Thinking about you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And hoping all goes well. Definitely, where can people follow you on socials? What's the socials that you are like choosing as your number one?
Our Instagram, which is Dulve, DULVE _in. That will be the best place to follow us in the sense of following our journey, I would say. And I mean, I have a personal Instagram, of course, but it's all about Dulve. So just follow Dulve. Dulve is where I need the followers.
Yeah, great. Well, everyone can go and follow you on Instagram on Dulve in. Yeah, and I'm excited to see your journey, watch your journey, see how your launch goes, and get my hands on some of it when it's here in Aotearoa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Wahine. If today's kōrero resonated with you, inspired you, or made you stop and think, I'd love for you to follow the show and share it with another wahine in business. You'll find all of the links and details from this episode in the show notes. So until next time, keep building your business your way, grounded in who you are and the legacy you're here to create. The podcast music is Te Kawa o Rongo by Naneko Erawata. The episode is edited by LJS Creative Services, and the show notes and blog post are written by Bellbird Writing.